All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's presentation of Westview High School's Arboretum. My name is Samantha Gentry, and I'm an AmeriCorps member serving with Conservation Nebraska. Conservation Nebraska's mission is to protect our state's natural legacy by educating the public, supporting communities, and increasing civic engagement, which we accomplish through locally led education efforts and community engagement projects to address local conservation concerns. Before the presentation, there are a few housekeeping things to go over. For those online, your cameras will remain off and you will be muted throughout the presentation. Please type any questions you have into the chat or the Q&A section, and we'll answer those at some point during or after the presentation. For those in person, feel free to raise your hand when you have a question. Some questions may have to wait until the end of the presentation due to time constraints. This presentation will be recorded and will be uploaded to Conservation Nebraska's YouTube page within the next couple of weeks. So if you missed any part of today's presentation, would like to revisit any part, or would like to share it with someone else, it will be available online. Following the presentation, we will have a very brief survey online and in person that should only take less than a minute to fill out. It's about 4 questions long. The survey helps support programming like this one, so we appreciate you taking the time to fill those out. If anyone in attendance is interested in speaking with a Conservation Nebraska member regarding conservation issues in Nebraska, or to find out more about what we do, you can email info@neconserve.org. Now I would like to introduce our speakers. Dr. Rachel Arns, is a curriculum specialist and director of college and career academies and pathways at Westview High School. She has served Omaha Public Schools since 2014 and previously taught environmental science. She also leads the NASA Rural Affinity Committee and serves on the U.S. EPA National Environmental Education Advisory Council, earning major national STEM and environmental education awards. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. She advances service learning in real-world career connections, and as principal investigator for the Westview Arboretum, she oversees grants, partnerships, and curriculum integration. Stephen N. Rohde, FSLA, is a professor emeritus at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, where he taught landscape plant identification, environmental design, and green infrastructure for nearly 3 decades. A longtime UNL extension specialist, registered landscape architect, and ASLA fellow, his work focused on plant soil performance and green infrastructure. He developed the master plan, signage, and interactive app for the Westview Arboretum and continues to support volunteer coordination and site activities. Please join me in welcoming them.
All right. Thank you guys for all being here and spending your Friday evening with us. I hope everybody had safe travels here.
Especially to start in warm day weekend. So hopefully it's a good way to kick it off.
Nope. There we go. All right, so what we're going to be chatting with you guys about today is we're going to give you some history and context of how did Westview High School get an arboretum. And we're going to talk about the process that we had to go to make this just plot of land at the time a reality in an outdoor classroom space for our students and our community, and how we tie it to our curriculum, how we tie it to our Westview pathways in college and career development. And then Steve will then take on the traditional interpretive signage that he helped develop and the app that you can also access when you go out there, public acceptance of our natural landscapes, and then some of our recent highlights and news stories. So Westview High School was built in 2022, and the Omaha Public School District had acquired some land that a long time ago used to actually be a farmstead. And the land that we acquired had a lot of great trees on it, had some already tall grass prairie. It was a traditional homeland of our Omaha Ponca tribes, and had some really great perennial flowers and shrubs that were planted. You could tell whoever lived there liked plants at that time. So we ended up with about 4.7 acres on our 75-acre high school site. But we had some great things, but we also had some bad things. We also had some invasive species, such as a lot of honeysuckle, you'll see that out there. We had to remove some poison ivy. So really it was a great plot that had a lot of potential that we had to work out. So here's Westview. It's just an aerial site. To give you context, when we acquired this site, originally the conversation with the district was, what do we do with this land? And they thought maybe we're just going to sell it, bulldoze all of this down, maybe like district can gain some money. Our principal negotiated with the Omaha Public School Districts to say, we want this to be an outdoor classroom. Please let us keep this. We are a sustainability school as our pathways. This is going to be an important outdoor learning space for our students to really get hands-on learning activities. And so we got to keep it. So zooming in, we are here. This is where you guys are going to be walking. And really, you can just see it out through these windows. It's these trees that we're going to be walking through across the parking lot. When we first got the land, again, like I said, there's a lot of dead things already in there. Some poison ivy, there's some trash. So really, we had a lot to work with. And we originally worked with our facilities to start taking out some of the dead trees. They helped clean out some of the trash, but we also knew that it was bigger than just OPS and our funding. We had to get grant funding to be able to support this. And so here's some of the original photos from July of 2022. Again, you can see we have some great trees and things already established, but we don't really have any defined spaces yet to work with. So at that time, our priority then was, okay, we have this plot. We want to convert this into an arboretum. We want this to be a hands-on learning laboratory for our students in our sustainability pathway. And then secondarily, also our other students. So if you are a nutrition student, we are going to plant some fruit trees. We want this to be an aesthetics place for our art students to also be able to go out, or students who might want to just use that as a reading space. So we started planning and we developed some curriculum connections. So this was kind of how we were able to sell this to our school district as let's invest in this space. So all of these curriculum connections tie directly into our sustainability pathways. When I say pathways, Omaha Public School District is very unique because from their freshman to senior year, students get to take almost like college majors, except they're high school majors. They get special classes that help prepare them for potential careers or college majors that they want to pursue. And we give them a lot of college and career opportunities like field trips. We bring in mentors from the industries. We bring in speakers, they get certifications, and it's just a lot of great ways for them to see, do I actually really want to pursue this after high school? And so we are the only sustainability school within the Omaha Public School District. So this was a great way to tie this directly into our classes. And so other overarching themes is out even beyond our classrooms, we wanted this space to just be a place where any student, anybody in the Westview or Bennington community can come, have an appreciation of nature and environmental awareness, learn about a lot of our native plants, as well as some of the invasive plants that might be in there, or just some of our aesthetic or regional plants. We have an awareness and appreciation of indigenous medicinal culture, and then also having a enhancement of our wellness through immersion within our prairie, our forest areas, our biodiversity, and just having a space where we can enhance our community and make them feel like they belong. So to make this a reality was a very long journey, but we were able to work with a lot of partners. And so we first started working with Plants Nebraska. At the time, they were known as the Nebraska Statewide Arboretum. And we were able to acquire some trees through them to start replacing some of the dead trees that we were removing. And then they also connected us to the Papio, Missouri Natural Resources District. They were able to grant us about $90,000, which was matched by our Omaha Public Schools Foundation to get this off the ground. And this, one of our biggest expenses at the time was building an ADA accessible pathway, which you guys will be walking on. And so it was amazing because the group that ended up building our ADA accessible pathway, it was Stoll Construction, who has a daughter going to Westview next year. And we found this out after the fact, which blows my mind still to this day, that his father was the original owner of that land.
Oh.
So
He actually grew up playing around
yeah,
here. And Gordy is the neighbor across the fence. So it's been interesting. I think we need to compile more of that history because it's really interesting even though where this came from.
yeah. So it was a really beautiful full circle moment. And really just trying to, make that space a place where, again, we're going to have his future generations, his daughter, but also kind of ties to his past. So it was really special. And then OPPD, they also donated some benches out there. And then we've had a lot of volunteer support to help with cleaning up the Arboretum. Our OPS side, they've been really supportive of helping to make sure like our site analysis and our design and layout was ready when we were working with our designer at the time, which was Big Muddies. And then also helping with our app license, initial tree removal, and then also you'll see it when you go in there. We have a lot of red buds for a race that we host, and they support a lot of those finances. So we are just recently were also awarded the Urban Community Forestry Grant through the USDA and Nebraska Forest Service, which is a 3-year grant. This is going to be an amazing structure for us to be able to remove against there's like a giant windstorm a few years ago that knocked down a bunch of trees next to our neighbors. We're going to be able to clean that up. And then for every tree that we remove, we get to plant a new one, which is going to be really powerful. So, and they're also going to help with just structural pruning of our trees for the next 3 years. And then the really great thing is they're also committing to our workforce development of our students at Westview. So all of our sustainability pathway students are going to become Youth Master Naturalist certified by the time they leave high school. And that's going to be a new program that we're working on developing in collaboration with the Master Naturalist program. And so just to have that youth version. So that's something that's we're really proud of and we're excited for. So go ahead. All right. So one other thing to mention is our pathways at Westview, we take them really seriously and we really try our best to make sure our students get the best exposure to opportunities to increase our Omaha talent in our pipelines. We know that Nebraska has an issue with brain drain. A lot of our youth leave the state and they don't use the majors that they graduate with in college within the Omaha community. They might go elsewhere. So it's part of our task is how can we retain a lot of our local talent? And so we work very intimately with a lot of the industries around Omaha to establish these relationships and build mentors for our students at Westview. And just recently, we have become the first high school in the entire nation to be nationally certified for our pathway programs at Westview. So we just received this honor about 3 weeks ago. So again, it's just like a testament to all the work that our teachers, our counselors, and our industry partners pour into making these opportunities for students. So, all right.
Okay. Any one of you questions in between? Anybody have any questions at this point? Yes.
I have a question, yes. If students start in these pathways as freshmen in an academy, what if they take a year and say, this is not for me?
They can switch out.
You have other pathways.
We have 11 pathways at Westview. Yeah, so they range from, we call them umbrellas. They're like sustainability umbrellas. Under that, we have 3 pathways. We have 4 business pathways. We have an education pathway, and we also have health science pathways. Outside of Westview, if students want to go into like welding or construction, they can go down to the Career Center, and there's a bus available for that. And then we even have a partnership with Metro Community College, where students can gain high school credit, or I'm sorry, college credit, and they can take specialized classes there as well. So really the sky's the limit. I would say 95% of our students who go to Westview want to take our Westview pathways, because when they are choosing pathways, they get to go to the high school that has the pathways they want to choose. If they realize they don't like it, they can switch, and they can pursue whatever pathway they
So
want to go to.
if they don't like a pathway and Westview doesn't offer it, they can go to a different place. Is that what you're saying?
That part's a little trickier. That route, they would go to Career Center, or they would go to Metro Community College.
Is a
And-
Career Center in the TAC building?
Yes. Yep. And they offer a bunch, and then Metro Community Colleges also offers a lot. So, and then even if there's beyond that, if they don't like any of those, they can customize. So sometimes we have students who are really into journalism or military. That's another great example. They can customize at Westview because we have JROTC and we have journalism classes. They can customize in that realm too. So,
So I think,
yes, they all count as elective credits. Yeah.
and I'm on the advising committee for the pathways, and sometimes as the students talk to us and explain what they're getting out of this, sometimes the biggest thing is, I realize now I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit of, I don't have the stomach for it. If I thought I was gonna go into healthcare, I don't think so.
I will say they're broad enough though, where they don't pigeonhole kids, where if I'm interested and I want to be, let's say, a nurse and I go into the health sciences, I'm still going to get exposed to a plethora of health positions out there, because a lot of times you just don't know what you don't know. You don't know the nuanced jobs out there. So the whole point is to connect them to local industries and expose them and get them excited. And if they are like, at the end of the day, I don't like that, well, you can switch out. You can go to a different pathway. And
There's a lot of
Learn more.
internships and
Mhm.
also just resume building. So a lot of it is a skill set that anybody is gonna
we
need.
practice interviews.
Plus, it gives them an opportunity
Mhm.
to try different things,
Yeah,
to learn more about different industries and jobs and like that, where a lot of times they don't have that opportunity in high school.
well, and as I look back, I was in high school over 50 years ago, and I wish I would have had the breadth of just being able to dabble. And
Yeah.
Go job shadow or just see what's going on, because it would have made it.
But you didn't know what other jobs were out there
Exactly.
and what they entail.
I grew up in Colorado, so I was gonna go work with Smokey the Bear up in the mountains. So that's what I ended up doing. And I was happy to do that, but never know. So.
How hard was it to get rid of the poison ivy?
I'm sorry, what?
How hard was it to get rid of poison ivy?
I hired people for that.
It has quotation marks around it. Because it's,
Yeah, we had, who was the group that came out and planted and also like did all of our prairie, Kinghorn Gardens. We had to really, start over with that prairie area. It was just riddled with, ragweed and a lot of just things that were hard to treat. So he had to go in, he kind of had to just nuke the whole area, and then we had to reseed probably 2 to 3 times before things were really getting established. So, I mean, and even then, there's still some areas that have to kind of spot spray. And
You
kind of-
continually monitor it for poison ivy, so if you take people through the arboretum, they're not gonna.
we know what
Yeah.
it is, and in
Yeah.
most cases, it's not near the paths. So we have quarters through there, as you'll see. So the main thing is to keep it clean.
Yeah.
I would like, as a teacher, I would like to leave at least one. So we can say, don't do that. Because I used to teach plant ID at UNO and UNL for 27 years. And it was nice. We had a poison ivy about that big around in Elmwood Park. And it's like, oh, that's poison ivy. Yeah, it is. So anyway, but it's an excellent question. And I wanted to. Does anybody think this is a pretty plant?
Honeysuckle.
Does anybody know what it is? This is the Amer honeysuckle. It's a vicious, noxious weed now that's in every NRD site. We thought it was going to be great. The birds love the fruit, so happy birds, but they distribute it via their digestive systems everywhere. So you'll see it everywhere out here in the Arboretum, and it gets tenacious to the point where the other native habitat plants just can't survive because it's so vigorous. So it takes a lot to get it out too. So I put this in because it's kind of a pretty picture, but I just want to make sure that don't aspire to put this in your yard. There's a lot of nice honeysuckles, but this is not one of the ones. This is one from overseas. So, all right, should we keep going then? Okay. So again, just briefly, I wanted to kind of break this down into the design process because oftentimes I talk to people. The design process to me is problem solving. So it's not as if you have to go study to be a designer to use the design process. It's a logical way to figure out what you need, what you want, whether you got there or not, and keep going. So again, this was a very complicated site. I wanted to look at it, and we did the trail system with Big Muddy, but this is typical design of what a landscape architect would do. So obviously hazard trees that are fallen people, the soils, we actually have so much organic matter out there that the contractor, Nick Dahl, had to bring in fill soil to get enough compaction to build the sidewalks. So if you're gonna put an arboretum somewhere, it's kind of nice to have that problem. And it's amazing, when we go out there and I show you a 30-year-old white oak tree, it's like, how on earth did this thing get that big at 30 years? But that's just part of the reality. It's part of the story to tell out there when we get there. To take advantage of and or protect, so that again, that white oak, we made sure we didn't invade or we protect it in terms of the root zone because they can be really sensitive to that. Overwhelming characteristics. We've got a lot of green ash out there, and those are on their way out. It's actually a risk tree we'll have as part of our inventory to remove, which is sad, but they're going to die anyway. And they go really brittle quick when they do. So the invasives I mentioned isn't just Amer honeysuckle. It's also, there's Tartarian honeysuckle out there. Mulberry to me is an invasive out there. As good as the fruit is, as much as you get all over your shirt in the summertime when you're trying to eat it, we want other stuff out there. And so we'll talk about all this stuff. Part of this is just kind of an introduction to have you understand, and for the folks on Zoom to know what to expect and what you can get out of this if you just come out, because it's open to the public. So between the app and some of the background information, hopefully that's helpful. Aesthetics and function are the two key things in any design. It has to look good, but it also has to work. So water does not run uphill by itself. And we see a lot of design work. What on earth was they thinking about? But so those are two critical things. Rachel mentioned the handicap accessible. So everything is 4% or less. So it's handicap accessible without railings and ramps and the other kinds of things you need on an access. Let's see, prioritize phases. We've kind of started at the front. Here's the high school parking lot and worked this way. And we really haven't touched any of the Arboretum along Ida because we're trying to use our resources wisely and kind of work backwards rather than just spending them all. It'd be like planting one petunia every 3 feet across your backyard versus putting them in a nice little color pocket up by the patio where you could appreciate it. Key resources, maximize visitor nature experiences. So analyze for sun, shade, prairie forest, rooms, hallways. We have honeysuckle out there now that I want to leave, even though I know we shouldn't because it's full of fruit, but it provides a sense of hallways and rooms out there. So it is, I would love to have a plum thicket or something probably more shade tolerant right where we come in. I'll show that tonight. But until such time, it literally kind of lends itself to a hallway where you come in. And all that human design, that spatial definition makes a big difference for us in terms of feeling comfortable in places. So fragrances, big on fragrances. The longest, our strongest tie to long-term memory is our sense of smell. So that's important. A lot of times people don't think about it. Educational framework. Again, I'll give a little more detail now on the interpretive signage and then the smartphone app. So this is the master plan overall, and I know it's kind of hard to see on detail. I'll blow up a couple of these just so you can see a little bit better. But the key thing here was that we defined certain areas of the Arboretum based on what we had the most of out there at the time. So it's not that there aren't conifers. Here's the conifer area right here. So it's not as if there aren't conifers elsewhere, but it's just, we took what was out there and then we defined it based on this, this legend that we have. These are kind of close-ups. We defined the collections. So and here's you know, as large as this, so you can see it better. So for the medium large tree collection, we listed everything we have certain already, which is quite a few species given we're just getting started. Then I wanted to add in heat tolerant sugar maple, swamp white oak, shingle oak. Oaks are great. Kentucky coffee tree. We don't have any out there. That's a huge, great tree for our habitat. So this was and then understory. There's very few understory out there. It was just all big trees were planted. So we need redbuds and we need serviceberry and we have pawpaw out there now, which also goes to the food forest. So there's a lot of overlap in terms of what criteria match up with the plants that we put in to try to create more biodiversity in vertically as well. This is the south end, so I kind of split the arboretum into two ends. So again, to enlarge it. Food forest is right over here. We'll walk through that. We started out with black walnut and mulberries everywhere, but now we've got a hardy pecan out there. We've got we don't have any butternut or shagbark yet. We do have we have an American chestnut out there we can talk about, which are totally extinct everywhere else. So we have one, feel pretty good about that. Serviceberry, pawpaw, persimmon. We want to have all of that stuff over time before we get done. This is the entry sign. So we'll look at this briefly when we go out. Main reason, I guess, to show this is the project partners. And Rachel's already talked about all of them, from Big Money and Gulf Construction, the foundation. It's been great to pull the resources together to do this. So, but it talks about our project goals and the educational features as you enter the Arboretum. So here's a map. This shows up on the app, and it shows up on all 9 signs. There's 9 interpretive signs out there. And then as you progress through the Arboretum, basically you do a counterclockwise circle around the whole thing. You can do a shortcut right here around this upper prairie that's a lower grass prairie. But again, all defined by these different areas, which then each sign interprets each area in terms of stopping to be able to look at it. This is one sign. This is area 6. So this is down the lower prairie, which is down at the south end of the site. So big blue stem, switchgrass, yellow prairie grass. These are the plants typical of what you might find down there. And in teaching plant ID, I have a lot of plants. So if it's not in season, we have asters down there. You can't see them now, but you can see what they're going to look like this fall. So you can come back in October and see them. So anyway, the description, it includes ecological value, prairie plants used for many purposes by indigenous peoples. Cytostroma can be bundled and used for brooms or hairbrushes. I never heard of that. But I went into a lot of detail with research to come up with those little facts that I think help not only students, but everybody remember this stuff, because you can visualize that. So when we get out there, we'll talk about eating redbud blossoms. Has anybody ever eaten a redbud blossom? Never thought of it? Okay, well, there aren't any left, or we'd all eat like we did a couple weeks ago with some moms and a bunch of kids.
Good.
Yeah, kind of. No, we'll talk about it out there. So I don't want to get too far behind, but that's the kind of thing that I've probably gone overboard. But the notion of indigenous and cultural use and what the homesteading pioneers used them for, what makes a huge difference to understand plants. I found that with plant ID class. If you come up with something really unique, it helps people remember the plant. So there's a lot of that built into the app as well as the signage. Here's the app. So the sign is literally right out there when you walk in. So you scan the QR code, it loads on your website. It offers you to go into an app from the same company, from STQRY. I find it just where it works fine on the app without any. We don't have any Wi-Fi out there, but it seems to work fine. And as far as I know, it stays on your phone. So Westview pays for our license, which is a relatively inexpensive. It's not inexpensive, but it's a lot less than the Arnold Arboretum of Harvard pays. And so we use the same app they do. So we're a pretty good company, I think. So the context for this, again, I'll put this up at the end if anybody online wants to scan it just to see if you can get into the app without going out to the site. You should be able to do that if it's clear on the screen. And then this is briefly kind of summarizes the app in terms of what the screens look like. This was a labor of love, and it taught me that an old dog can still do new tricks. because in all my years of extension, I never built an app, but it's a really good, it's an easy implementing software program. They allow the storage, this company that we worked with to have a license. So anyway, and I do a lot of stuff with Photoshop. So I had a lot of fun cutting caterpillars and butterflies out of one picture and sticking them in somewhere else. So trying to add some interest to these pictures. So there's a welcome. The tours, we're going to be allowed 2 tours. You can see the brown one there on the right. That's the fall tour, indigenous. The one we have up there right now is the one to use. But over time, we've talked to students and they want to do tours based on the framework of an animal living out there or a plant that lives there. We need a fall tour. So because again, it's a whole different spectrum in terms of what you see out there. So we'll only be able to put 2 at a time up based on our license, but it will be variable in terms of what we can actually put out there. So it should differ over time. I put a whole bunch of internal links and external links into the app. So it's everything from the Nebraska Forest Service, what do you know about trees, to the Morgan Arboretum, to all of the classic places that we go, Mobot, the Missouri Botanical Garden, any place that plant people love to go to look up credible stuff. There's a link there to try to get more people straight into the research-based information that's going to be more helpful to all of us. And it's typically updated a lot, obviously, because research continues. We keep learning new stuff all the time. So anyway, so there was a huge push there. I feel like I maxed out the app. And so if it will let me do it, as you'll see, I did it. But I'm afraid that maybe 1 out of 100 people ever gets to that level in here because you're too busy looking at all the beautiful trees to figure out what the app's going to do next. So, but if it's there, if you want to do it. General information. So you read this initially. The students have narrated all of the scripts. So the student voices are providing the feedback. So again, the more we can use the students ties directly into curriculum, and they have a really strong sense of ownership then when they do that. Background on Tallgrass Prairie, I wanted to include that. This is not the site prior. This is probably in Kansas somewhere, but the notion was this is where we all came from at some point in time. So there's a lot that correlates to trying to really help people understand what this site looked like. This is a key one to me, and I think we might have talked about this already, but this is where we start, and this is 1995. This is on the Douglas County GIS system. And the windbreak and plants out there are little green dots. And that's only 31 years ago. So when you see the trees out there, you're going to think, how on earth did it grow? I thought we planted trees for our grandkids. No, you can plant one right now. If I live to 100, I can have a nice oak tree to sit up there one of these days. So part of the value to Arboretum to me is just the profound connection to nature and understand that. The better you understand it, I'll have a quote by Einstein here in a second. It's just, there's a lot more benefit that comes out of it the more you understand about it. Here's the 9 places. If you're assigned 1, it shows up as a black dot, and then it kind of works your way around so you keep track of where you're at. Here's if you have difficulty hearing, there's also a script for the reading that you can see, so you can actually read it instead of listen to it. And then this is where the extra information comes in too. So if we are out of season with silver maples, they're not that far out yet. There's also all kinds of information that you can scroll across to learn about silver maples. You go to the Forest Service site for it. There's pictures so you can see what a silver maple leaf looks like if you were actually there at the right time of year, and you can see why it's called silver maple. So there's a lot of those layers put in as well. So again, I don't know how much that ever gets used. And then as an educator, I just had to put a quiz in. So there's 2 quiz questions for every the app is supposed to guide you between the signage. So once you get from the introductory sign to sign 1, it walks you through. It says you got Scotch pine, cinnamon bark on the left, you got this on the right. And then when you get to the next sign, it says, okay, what did you learn? But it's not that abrupt, but that's what it means. So which of the leaves below belongs to a silver maple? We had all those pictures you could have looked at. You had all the stuff that you heard the students talking about. We get it right, so the minions cheer you on, tell you that you got the answer right. And if you get it wrong, because you thought it was a swamp white oak, then you get a sorry next time. So you get 2 chances, so you can actually go back again. So you get 2 tries to get it right. So I have no idea how helpful this is to anybody, but it's there. And given our age range for this arboretum, it just seems like it's something that provides some fun in terms of learning opportunity. And you could actually build an app that was to virtually every grade level if you wanted to get the really young ones involved. Because the more hands-on stuff, the better for them. And then you move on to sign two, and you listen to this, read sign two, listen to the audio. So again, you won't have time to do this tonight as we walk, because I want to try to fill in all the blanks in between, but this is how it's supposed to work, okay? I don't see 22. Enhanced viewer acceptance of natural design. This is all my years of teaching at the university and landscape architect. We all love native. We love native and adapted plants. We love the fuzzy stuff, but as soon as it's in our backyard, we have a problem with it. As soon as little blue stem flops over on the edge of the sidewalk, it's like we got to mow that thing down because it's looking sloppy. The feather reedgrass stands up straight, has no habitat value whatsoever. That'll stand there all year. It's like we like those grasses because they do what they're supposed to do. And I'm being facetious, but I'm not. We're neat and tidy in our context. And if you appreciate naturalistic landscape, I have a couple of hints in terms of you adding any of this to your yard or just understanding better how this is supposed to work. So Joan Massar does research at Michigan, landscape architect. These are the two terms she came up with. And I used to include this in my design presentations because no matter how much you love to use native plants, if nobody will accept them, then it's not going to do you any good. So vivid care is landscape interaction should be noticeable. So it's like you have to have a sense that humans have actually manipulated nature somehow, and then we're okay with it. It was just a wild prairie. It's too wild. We don't want to go out there. The intelligent care, viewer understands the ecological value of an ugly natural landscape. Ugly in quotation marks. So vivid care, this is inviting to go in, right? Obviously sidewalk. But even if we mowed a path out there, it would be more inviting because it's obvious that you're supposed to go out there. Every golf course superintendent that I used to have classes with in terms of teaching them about design. If you're a golf course superintendent, you do this to every golf cart path you have on any course, even an Audubon course, because if you don't, everybody comes back to the clubhouse and tells you forgot to mow somewhere. And as soon as you do that little path, then they somehow think, oh, they know what they're doing over there. So we try to keep our little paths mowed, and then all of you are going to think we know what we're doing once you get beyond there, even though sometimes it's a little crazy. Ecological features. This is the notion. We have a miniature library out there, benches. This is not necessarily a ecological. I mean, it's not a native. It's not a hole in a dead tree. But the context there is nature just didn't put those things there. It's part of humankind and human-made appreciation for nature. And intelligent care, Aldo Leopold has a great quote, you can't love cranes and hate marshes, which is pretty simplistic, especially if you've been out in Grand Island in March. But the context is we drained a lot of marshes in our time, given that we didn't think they were worth anything. So we used to do a lot of stormwater research and design. This is at UNO. And the context, we put a sign up like this every place we went so people could understand how it was a functioning landscape that did good environmentally and cleaned water and provided habitat. It wasn't just a fluky thing. So it helped with the fact that, again, it's a little bit wild. This is a little bit wild looking place on campus. They wouldn't have had it had I not gone out and got $70,000 to get it built. And all I had to do was show up for like 3 years. That's all I had to do. I'm not gonna say if you did or not. I'm just that's how you get this stuff done. But people have to understand the fact it's either providing environmental service, ecosystem service. Does anybody know what that is? It's basically quantifying nature's give back to us. So a tree, I don't know, 20-inch caliper honey locust, some huge tree, will give us this many $100 or $1,000 worth of stormwater management because it slows the rain down before it hits the sidewalk and goes down the storm drain. It's natural air conditioning. It's habitat. We're now concerned that we're not going to have enough bees because we don't have enough pollinators. So when you start to add that up, the only way we seem to get a lot of people to understand why we shouldn't take out nature is to put a dollar value on it, which kind of it's frustrating, but that's the reality. That's every equation you see nowadays. So we want people out there to appreciate the environment. It's not just a learning. It's not just how do you do on the app, but it's the notion of really feeling good. And then personal restoration is key. I was fortunate to go to New England Acadia last fall. I couldn't believe how beautiful it was. So a landscape like this is obvious. I mean, everybody's blown away. But the notion of where we go out tonight, it's like, oh, it looks like somebody forgot to mow the grass in places. So the context for that is important if you know that those are prairie grasses. Look deep into nature and then you'll understand everything better. So this is that quote I was talking about from Einstein. The further you can see into it, it changes everything about what you're doing. So personal restoration, mentioned that earlier, this restoration theory, Rachel and Stephen Kaplan are researchers into this. Exposure to natural environments is not only enjoyable, but it also improves our focus and ability to concentrate. So it's effortless attention. So it's not like we have a tired brain at the end of the day. And we have we'll look at this bench out there. We have a couple of families that have donated benches and their kids donated in honor of Greg and Becky, their parents. And then the first spring out there, they had a Mother's Day picnic on the bench. So that's exactly the kind of thing we're looking for as part of the beyond arboretum thing where you're actually trying to learn about plants. So, yeah. Any questions before?
So what's your most difficult animal to you had eating whatever plants you have that you have
Right out there now? Rabbits. Rabbits. I don't think we have any deer. I saw a rear end about this big, a fuzzy one day scooting into the shrubs. I don't know if that was like a marmot or woodchuck or something. It could have been a beaver, would have had the right tail because it was just, so I haven't seen it since.
No, I saw him on the road.
What's that?
I saw him on the road.
Oh, you did? What?
Alive?
Oh, no wonder I haven't seen it.
So
I got a little bit of film.
Oh, you did you?
Yeah, I did get a little bit of film.
Well, we are, the NRD at Heron Haven, anybody's familiar with Heron Haven, does a bird count with, through, what's his name?
there used to be deer out there all the time. There used to be turkeys. There used to be all kinds of, I've seen coyotes back there,
We just saw a coyote out there recently.
but we haven't seen deer for a couple of years now.
Austin Hill at the NRD does the bird counts, and they actually use the app similar to Merlin to identify through sound. So they're doing that already out here in the fall. They're gonna do it again in the spring. So it'll be interesting to make a comparison, but to also appreciate bird habitat, bird watching. We need to get some nests up. We need to get some birdhouses up.
How is the takedown of all the trees out there gonna affect the wildlife that's there now?
We have to wait until after the migratory bird season, as well as there's like an endangered bat season. So we can't start work until August 1st. To bypass that, they have to do a tree assessment to make sure there isn't habitat or nesting in those specific trees that we're removing.
We could end up leaving a dead tree if in fact it's good for nesting, or it already has, there's an elm over on the east side that if it fell over, I don't think it'd be a major issue, but it looks like it has a hole in it, like a woodpecker hole. So part of the trade-off, I guess the main thing on this is if we can get that understory starting to develop, not only we get native shrubs and trees, then there's all kinds of extra food out there for the birds. And for other animals that we wouldn't have right now, because right now, virtually every red cedar out there is about 3/4 dead from all the shade in that windbreak. And that's area that really doesn't do much for us. So we're gonna be as sensitive as we can.
Yeah, as much as possible, and some of the trees will also have to remove emerald ash borer, like they're affected by it, and so eventually those would have to come down anyways.
Okay.
So it's, just I guess weighing the cost. But we were officially awarded a Nebraska statewide arboretum site as of last May. And yeah, this is a really exciting moment for us that made us, it's official. We're a arboretum that you can come visit, and we meet their criteria. So we had a opening ceremony last May, not only as a welcome to our arboretum, our brand ribbon ceremony, but also we were certified at that point as well. And so right now we are just trying to grow our visibility. We're going to continue planting and managing our invasives, and then getting more students and classes out into the arboretum. So this is just a picture of our ribbon cutting ceremony. We had a lot of people come out throughout our community and our district. And I know the media came out to highlight our opening. It was a beautiful day. And when you guys are walking out there, one of the highlights you will encounter is a moon tree. So we have a tree that, when it was a seed, went around the moon on the Artemis 1 mission. So we're really excited to have that. It was a big day when it finally arrived. It was kind of a funny story. We were waiting, and finally this tree arrived, and when it was germinated, it came back from, the moon, it was germinated, it was actually being grown in a greenhouse in Louisiana, and it's a sweet gum. And we received this tree in the end of November, and we're like, oh no. Like, you don't think
It looked
this
like a
thing,
house plant. It was
yes,
that green.
it had
I
all of
no
its
idea it was
leaves.
in Nebraska.
it was not acclimated. It wasn't going to acclimate to the Nebraska weather at that time. It would have shocked it. So Steve took it into his garage and cared for it all winter long.
Maybe sat all winter long, and on warmer days, I put it out on my deck, on cold nights. And so I got it gradually down to maybe 10 degrees, which is still not quite cold enough. Because the other thing I found out, the provenance on this, which is the seed source genetics, is zone 8, which could have easily been a swamp in Louisiana. So we're gonna see, I'm hoping the radiation from being out in space has nuked that seed in that, so it will never die. Because you can't go to molehills and pick one up, right? At least to be honest about what's going on. We spend a lot on that science, so I don't wanna have to say science either. So, but we'll talk about it when we get out there. But I mean, we had a hail shield for the first year. The Forest Service said, you need to put that thing in the ground right now in November, so the roots will grow. I said, we did okay. We didn't have a space, some nights had a space heater, heated project. Every night at 10, my phone would go off and say, do you know where your moon tree is? And remind me if I could bring it in, or maybe I could set it out, but that was the only thing that made sense to me, and it seems, it's tough love. I actually put it in blankets, I wrapped it in blankets last December, because we had some really cold nights and it was gonna warm up again for a while with our crazy winter. And we had a tough love, discussion after I put the blankets off. I said, I'm not coming back out here, so you need to decide what you're gonna do about it. And so far, we're okay.
Yeah, it's growing. And it's honestly, it makes kids so excited. When we were planting it, we waited until the spring to plant it. We invited Saddlebrook Elementary kids up with our high schoolers. And this picture right here is our Saddlebrook Elementary kiddos getting to plant it. They took a big picture by it. And so they come up every year now to come say hi to their tree. And it's just like a really fun way to get kids excited, not only about plants, but also about like space and the technology that we've been able to have to get seeds up into space. So it's always a really fun conversation. And then even beyond just walking out in the Arboretum, we try to have a lot of other extensions to get people excited about coming in. One of the events that we host every year is an Arbor Day 5K and 10K race. We host it out at Lake Cunningham, and the winners of that race actually get to plant a tree, and you'll see the signs when you go out there in their honor. And so this is our most recent winners, and this is one of the red buds that they have planted. And so we have cookies out there, and we just kind of make it a fun event. And so it's just, a way to, again, get our community excited about having their own trees in our arboretum.
What kind of cookies are those again?
These right here, they're from Eileen's cookies.
Yeah,
They're
so
sugar cookies.
nothing but the best.
Yeah. Super cute.
And at the same time, you tell them and show them how to plant a tree.
Yeah, we actually pre-dig the holes for them too. Otherwise we do that for a while.
Claire, we talk about don't pound the soil in, so it's just, learning moment on well.
It is, and it's a great way for our sustainability students to also be part of the process. During the event, we actually have swag bags, and we give away free. This year it was a redbud tree. They're little saplings, they're about this big. that NRD donates them to us. And so we also give them wildflower seed packets, and the students make a cute brochure about what is Arbor Day, why should you care? They put the instructions of how to plant your tree on there. So it's also a fun learning event.
Your granddaughter put a burr oak, did she get it, from the same program?
Yeah, the NRD.
Yeah, so we have a burr oak, in basically Gordy's borrowed backyard into the arboretum now with the burr oak.
It was like this big.
Yeah.
Yeah, those oak trees did really well from that year. Yes, we've made the news a few times. Again, OPS is really proud of this. They now use this as a site for other elementary kids. They have preschoolers that come up. It's just become like a learning laboratory, not just for Westview, but for the community.
So OPS does use it for their other classes like Fullerton or
Yes.
Buffett or.
Anybody who wants to come up. Yep, we try to spread the word. And so, I mean, really, we've only been open for a year. So I think we've only had like 3 or 4 schools take advantage of that now. But the idea is to keep spreading the word and keep bringing more schools up here.
We'll see some fruit trees planted out there. So the nutrition instructor here and students said, what about some fruit trees? In addition to the wild grapes and all the other stuff I've talked about. So we're going to spalier. We have the fruit trees out there now. We're going to spalier them on wire like the University of Minnesota and Wisconsin have done. So it looks like a vineyard, only it's fruit. And you can reach it. It's easier to take care of. So we have plans. We got some funding through, was it KTV? We got some grant funding for the posts and the wires. We need to get that started on this stuff. So, but it isn't necessarily sustainability. It's a way to sustainably grow fruit trees. But we've heard from English teachers or art teachers just go out there for inspiration.
Well, even Creighton University, I know, is going to be bringing out a class in August. So it's open to anybody who wants to come up. Yeah. Any questions?
Before we do that, I'm gonna pass out a survey. If you guys fill that out, it will be really helpful for us to continue doing events like this.
I have a question.
Great. Thank you so much.
This goes back to your academy and students. Do you have a set curriculum with freshman, senior, what are some of them?
Yeah, so if you choose the environmental studies pathway, that sophomore year, you can take regular environmental studies, or you can take the AP environmental studies option. That junior year, they take water technology. Senior year, they take inland ecosystems. And then under that sustainability umbrella, we also have clean energy pathway. Those classes are clean energy 1, 2, clean energy 3, 4, and clean energy 5, 6. So, but I mean, they have like standards and stuff that go into the different types of renewable energies. And then, and also a lot of the environmental topics that I had listed on that slide. And then our third sustainability pathway is civil engineering. And so those students, they take more of that design side of things, and they learn AutoCAD, they learn Revit, they do a lot of competitions. Really, by the time they get to their senior year, their capstones can look very different. They take on projects that they are passionate about, and they want to I don't know, just kind of display their knowledge of how they've learned in the past 4 years. For example, we had one student who, in the environmental studies pathway, she developed an app that it was linked to a sensor that you put into a composter, so people could actually know what temperature their composter was and modify it based off of those readings. So, something simple, but like, oh my gosh, can be really impactful. And then she presented at, it's called the Society of American Military Engineers. It's a national competition, and she ended up winning some really awesome prizes out of it. So that's just one example. There's been a lot of other projects. Another one was like a beehive project that this student was working with like colony collapse disorder. We've had, there's so many projects.
And then if anyone online can also answer the survey too, that would be great. It's just a few questions. And it doesn't look like we have any questions online.
Any other? We're planting as much stuff, I would say the prairie areas are probably more valuable for that. But there's even, I mean, a lot of the native plants host insects and I don't have, we're gonna do our best for it. We haven't necessarily picked plants based on, you know, the statewide arboretum saying this is a pollinator plant. But we're relying, I would say we're doing 80% native, at least regionally native. And I want to include adaptive like that sweet gum. That sweet gum is adapted here, it's not native here. We actually asked for a sycamore initially because they're native. And ours died in the whatever nursery it was in. So we got a sweet gum backup, 4 months later. So, but I think the context for that, I've talked a little bit about the signage in the app, but I think part of that as time evolves and we actually figure out what's available, what we can put in. But I could easily see what 50, 60, 80 different species of native prairie plants from spring to fall bloom that I'm sure they have a role somewhere. And some insects are unique to one flower and some doesn't matter. You see insects on butterfly bush, which is not native.
We have a little bit of a limiting factor right now where we can grow some stuff from seed, we can plant some established things that are drought tolerant, but we don't have access to water out there. And that has been our biggest limitation. We can't put a lot of plugs out there because how we manage it now is we have like this giant barrel and then I have to fill it with a hose and it takes like almost 2 hours just to fill that. And then I drive it on a gator out to the arboretum and I have to manually water those. And so without any sprinkler or like water systems, like it's just, that's kind of where we've been held up, unfortunately.
Is there plans to put something out there, water?
Right now,
I have plans to find money so we can get it done.
Yeah, the district, I mean, as you've heard, we're in a budget shortfall. And so that's not something they can invest in. So anything that we apply for has to either be through grant or private donations at this time. And I think the cost is about $70,000. So we're looking, it's just we haven't solidified anything right now.
What we're proposing is a directionally drilled pipe from the water line where the hydrant is on the north side of Main Street. And it would go under the street. We put a meter pit in. And then from there, everything is underground and we probably put 7 hydrants in. So it wouldn't be automatic here. Well, it could be automatic from the hose, but the notion is to get stuff established, number one, and then number two, when the 6-month drought comes some summer, we have a way of, it's insurance. It's called insurance. So especially this time of year, it was so, I mean, this last year was so crazy. It would have been nice to water even in December, but and I've promised anybody that don't, if you have extra 60, 70 grand burn a hole through your pile, let me know.
It's like one more person still needs to fill out the survey. If we could have you fill that out, we would really appreciate it.
By too. But it's not the kind of thing that people like to donate, just like the sidewalks. We initially thought we're gonna have to mow paths for a while. We gotta get this thing started first. And OPS facility said it's gotta be handicap accessible, so figure it out. Where are we gonna get that kind of money? It was almost $190,000 for that sidewalk. But it makes the whole arboretum balance, and we were fortunate to have the foundation and then our feet kick in.
I wish I had 70,000. But if just a citizen wanted to donate a tree, and it would be a tree of your choice, but you mentioned you needed a Kentucky coffee tree. Is that something that the general public can do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't know, to me, like education and spaces like this are meant to bring the community together. And it's bigger than all of us at Westview. It's a space where we want everybody to feel like is their space. And so if that is, someone feeling connected to a tree and they want that, that donation and they want to come visit that, absolutely. And I think that's also great for the students to see the community investing in that as well.
We have 2 benches now, $2,000 each, so OPBD and then there's 2 more bench donations in process. We have places for 5 at least. But then I have a colleague, a retired colleague in town, he said, we're gonna give him $5,000 And it all goes into the OPS Foundation
Yeah.
fund, and then you bring the money back out to pay for things. So we haven't gotten that far yet, other than knowing it's there and it's fantastic. The one thing I guess I would say is sometimes hard to manage is memorial stuff. Because if it dies, that's not a good thing. So, and I think even Lords and Gardens has gone more to donor walls versus trying to put, they'll put an honor tree out there. But not, the memorial gets kind of hard to manage.
Yeah, the brick, individual brick.
Yeah, well, or even, we need to figure out a way, as these kind of questions come in, to actually do a better job of documenting all of the support, because it's huge. It's really big, yeah. So another way to do that, so. I would also, just briefly, does anybody know, we use all Great Plains, nursery trees out there. The root bag, they need all the help they can get to get started out there, especially with Rachel on the gator trying to get everything watered on a hot summer day. She gets paid to do that, by the way. Right? No, oh, okay. But that's what we got right now. So, we're gonna do deep plugs to get perennial started. The seeding has got to do the best it can, and we'll keep overseeding if we need to. I could see students scattering wildflower seed closer to the paths and let the forbs come up closer so you can actually see them versus scattering them all over. Probably 70% of the prairie, the upper prairie, the short grass is grasses. Because typical prairies weren't that many forbs anyway. So we want to focus the forbs and the pollinator habitat, et cetera, in places where people can actually appreciate it without having to go through the whole prairie to see it. So plus the signage and the app.
All right.
All right, that's the end of our presentation for today. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Rachel. And thank you, Westview High School, for hosting the event. Thanks for coming, those who came in person, and for those who participated online. Again, this will be recorded and posted online if you want to watch it again or send it to anyone. And then for those who are interested, we will be walking through the Arboretum after this.
Promise will be done before dark. Actually, what we done is, it's not gonna take a lot of time. I can do 5-minute version, well, it takes more than 5 minutes, but the main thing tonight is to see what's here so you can come back and spread the word to anybody and anybody that would appreciate doing this, because that's.
People can go wander around there anytime they want.
Yeah, and the sign is not, I mean, you just don't even know it's there. We've had people say, oh my word, and even the neighborhood says, why would I walk around the block when I'm here walking Arboretum? So.